So I'm going to go over the questions that, people have been asking about DVlottery, and usually, maybe they made a mistake or stuff like that. So we'll cover that. And then, so one of the questions that I've got is like, okay, I applied as single, and then I'm planning on getting married. So if you applied as single and then you plan on getting married, what you can do, if you win, you can actually add your new spouse to your DS260, because that's a huge change. So when you open your DS260 and now you have a spouse, you have to add them to the DS260, and that way both of you will get to immigrate to the United States together. So that's not a problem. The only time is a problem is if you are married before, like if you're married maybe before you applied for the green card lottery, and then now you decide like, okay, now I have won the green card and I want to add this spouse that we were married before, but I did not add them to my application. If you do that, don't even show up at the embassy, because you'll be denied. One, you lied in your application. You applied as single, knowing very well you had a wife, you had a spouse. So make sure, like, if you did not add anybody and you're married and you lied, just stick with the lie all the way to the end. So don't change that. Another important question that has come up is like, I was pregnant when I applied. So, you can't add a pregnancy. You don't know when this baby is going to be born, right? So if you applied when you are pregnant and you win, also you can add this new baby to your DS260, because it's a new development. You were not married before, you added your new spouse, you did not have a baby before, you are the new baby. But if this baby existed before you applied, do not add them, because that is automatic visa denial. Okay, so some people are like, okay, so I omitted, maybe my kid was in school, in college, or they were doing something, I didn't have a picture of my kid, so I decided to just apply me and my wife, or me and the kids. So if in case you win, then whoever was not included, unfortunately, that's it. You cannot add them to the DS260 because they mess up everything. You lied. So if you did not add anything, and this is important that I'm insisting, like if you did not add anybody before, do not add them later, because you will be denied a visa. Africans like to do that, and we are getting denied left, right, and center. So if you get married after the application, your marriage certificate should show that you married after the application, not before. So that's important right there. And then also some things like people are wondering what can be changed. So if like you applied with a wrong name, like, not like a completely different name. So for example, like you put your middle name as the first name, or your last name as a middle name, like you switch the order, or maybe the spelling was wrong. Maybe you spell, or maybe your last name, you spelled like a different, that you can change. When you win, you can change that in the DS260. But if you're completely changing the whole name, you might need a sworn affidavit of the name to actually say that this person here is the same person using these other names here. So that's important. Like, with the names, DS260, if there's an order change, or maybe you missed a letter, do not worry about. You can change that. Same with the birthday. Some birthdays, sometimes maybe instead of 77, you put 71, something like that. So they'll ask you, and then you're like, maybe there's a typo or whatever, but then you can correct your date of birth. I have somebody who actually was here, and when they applied, they had the wrong date of birth there. They had like a different month, but then like they changed the DS260, and then they were able to get a visa. Education, also you can change. So, like with the DVlottery application, usually on the application itself, it confuses people because it says high school, no degree, high school, degree with degree. So that's a little confusing, especially for people in Africa, because in Africa, having a degree means you're going to college, like you went to college or university to get a degree. But then here, completing high school is equivalent to a high school degree. So if you have 12 years of study, that's equivalent to a high school degree. So a lot of people complete the DVlottery application and they say high school, no degree, because they're like, it's high school, I finished high school, but I don't have the degree yet. But then that high school is the degree. So that you can change. So when you win on your DS260, you just make sure you just put high school degree, and then you include the school where you went to, and then, they'll check the grades depending on your country. I think Kenya is D- or D, something like that, something very low. So as long as you finished high school, you should be good. And then I had a common question about somebody saying about like adding kids who are over 20 years old. The application, when you go to the website itself, like when you're applying, it says right there, do not add any kid who's 21 or over. So if you're adding a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, what are you telling the system? That's how people get disqualified, because now you're adding a 50-year-old when clearly they said you have to add somebody who's 20 years and younger, because 21-year-old is considered an adult. And then, you know, some people are like, you know what, when you come here and then you did not add the adult kids, you will not be able to bring them here. That's not true. That's not true at all. Because the DV lottery application, you can't immigrate with adults, you don't need to add them. But then when you're here and you're citizens, because they're your kids, they qualify if you have to petition for them to come immigrate as your family. So they come on a green card as a family, as much as you did not add them on the DV lottery application. You can still petition for them. So you don't get penalized because you didn't add them. So they're not saying like, oh, these are the only kids that you have. They say the application is like, these are the only kids that are below 20 years old that I added to this application. So let nobody tell you that because you didn't add a kid, when you come here, you can't petition. A lot of people did not add those kids when they applied for the DV lottery, and the kids are here. You don't get penalized because the US understands, like on the DV lottery application, you're not supposed to add anybody. Okay, and then how do you check your winning? I've said that multiple times. You just go where you applied originally for the DV lottery, the website. Just go to the website. And then that you need a confirmation number, and you need your last name, and you need your year of birth. And then you'll be able to see your results. So for example, if you lost maybe your email address, you don't need an email address unless you don't have a confirmation number. So if you have your confirmation number, you just use the confirmation number, your last name, and your year of birth. But then if you lost your confirmation number, that's when the email comes in. Then you put in your email to retrieve the confirmation number so that you can check. And if your email address doesn't work, but you have a confirmation number and you find out you won, this email address, it doesn't matter, because you will use the confirmation number once you get your case number and whatever to get into the DS260. Once you're in the DS260, you will put a new email address. So you need a confirmation number. So if you have somebody said something about an email address, they lost it or whatever, don't worry about that. As long as you have the confirmation number, if you find out you win, when you process your DS260, then what you're going to do, you're going to go in there and it will change your email address. And to complete your DS260, you don't need your passport, but I encourage everybody to get the passport early. So you don't need a passport to complete the DS260. You can actually do it without a passport, so that your case is, they start processing it. Like if your number is like a low case number, then it's better that you completed the DS260 early, so that it gets processed, and then you get your 2NL, you get scheduled, and then you can show up even with the passport at the embassy. So just make sure, like if you're out there and you won the DV lottery, you don't have a passport, because Kenya is crazy right now with passports. Just make sure that you complete the DS260, whether you have a passport or not. A lot of people didn't complete on time. They didn't get an interview, and somebody had like a lowercase number and she still doesn't have an interview just because she made a mistake of not completing it and waiting for the passport, which just came out last month. So they were late to submit the DS260. And I'm just gonna go real quick. Let me see if I can pull here. Let me put it as a full page. So you can see on my screen right here, like if you won the DV lottery, so this is where you check, like, you know, after you check the results and then you submitted a DS260, so you keep on a track of visa bulletin, because this will tell you like when your case is almost like being scheduled. So like you can just go to Google and go to visa bulletin for December, because we're in December, and then you just hold on, yeah. So you just scroll all the way down. You can just scroll all the way down, and then you get down here, And then you can see what is the most current. So you see like this one here, up here, Africa, we are at 11,000. So this one was like, you know, they'll be scheduled for December, depending on how your embassy is performing. So they are scheduled for December. I have somebody, a DVlottery winner from Uganda who was in the 3,000. He already has his visa and he'll be coming next month. So he's a DV 2024 winner, but he already has his visa and he will come in. He'll be traveling on the same year. And then like I have 2 people here who I'll be hosting as well. For December, they're scheduled for January. So they fall within the 22,000 range. So one is 16, the other one is 12. They receive the 2 NLs, and they already scheduled for the interview at the embassy. So that's where you check. And then you realize like I don't go into detail. I won't go into like telling you this is how Nairobi is performing. This is how Tanzania, Bangladesh embassy, Indian embassy, whatever is performing. Because that information is important to know, but you can't do anything about it. Like even if you're an expert at knowing how all the embassies are performing, it doesn't mean that you're going to get your 2NL quicker because you know that information. Your 2NL will come when it comes. So I feel like I can go into detail and tell you, okay, this is how the embassy is performing. This is how many cases are getting scheduled. It will help you. It just gives you anxiety. What I say, if you win the green card, there's 2 things. Either you will be scheduled for the interview or you will not. Knowing all that information is important just to make you feel smart, but like it really doesn't help. So like unless you plan on changing your embassy, like if you plan on changing your embassy to Tanzania from Kenya, you know, if you plan on changing your embassy based on how the embassy is performing, then probably you need to know how embassies are performing, how embassy in Egypt is performing. But other than that, like, why do you need that information? I feel like you will benefit more from like somebody showing you how to complete a DS-260, where to get the medical, you know, where to like, okay, where do I pay for the embassy fee in this country? That helps you more than checking the statistics. They're important. I don't dispute that. They're important, but you don't need to know. You can actually channel that energy into learning, how do I apply for a social security number if I get to the US? Which states are better with my career? You can check that. How much is this career? How much do they pay? Channel that energy to that. Knowing how many people applied for DVlottery in 2024 or 2023, it does not help you. Knowing that information won't make you win. You either win or you don't win. Either you know that information or you don't. So just keep in mind, like not all that information is actually important.